give always, put up there. On inquiries, we've channeled through 1508. We've asked the CA to also give us a more, a better number that is easier for Nairobians to remember, maybe 047 or something that we can still use for the county. That is, an emergency number. The problem is that if today you ask a Nairobian, if in case of a fire, what number do you call? Most don't know. And so we've been doing a campaign of, advertisements on radio, on TV, just letting people understand, what to do in case of an emergency, different protocols, how to test the water. And we're just trying to do much of that public information beyond just me going to the press. Because when I go to the press, then they get derailed and ask a lot of political questions. So sometimes you'll see Bram is the one who I send, so that it can be restricted to the areas of disaster.
Oh, okay. I think let's leave it at that. Senator Sifuna, is it a question or just a...
Yes, Governor, clarify for me. You said the county did not receive any money for the El Nino rains.
Yes.
What support have you received from national government for the current flooding? And also there was a pronouncement by the Deputy President during his visit to Mradi.
Yes.
Whether that money is now with you.
No. Nairobi County has not received money for disaster, and ideally we should not. We're able to if we get our resources that we're supposed to get, but the interventions that we've agreed can be handled by the national agencies. For instance, there is no need to send us money for the cash transfers, because these people have been identified by a joint team that has the national government officers and the county government officers. If it's easier for the national government to give that money, and mostly they do it through Red Cross, to give the money to Red Cross, to send the money directly, we're okay. It is easier, it will take us a shorter time than going through the COB and then saying which budget was this. It's actually easier for national government to be able to do that directly. Much of the support, for instance, on the bridges, that one has been now directly handled. So Kura is taking care of that. There are those that we're doing as a county based on our budget, but there are those that the national government is doing, which would be counted as support to Nairobi. But instead of giving us the money for us to now start procuring a new, contractor, they're able to now contract directly, and we're happy with that.
So what the support is not in cash; it's in kind.
There's no cash support.
It's in kind. It's through services, infrastructure.
But the county is expending.
But is it quantifiable yet, or it's still flowing? So you can't quantify.
Well, it's quantifiable. I think we can be able to quantify what kind of support has been given. So
what
far.
Number would you put on it so far?
So it's not cash received by Nairobi, but the interventions the government is undertaking in Nairobi so far, I would put at around 500 million.
500 million?
Yes.
What about the other proclamation you're talking about? I'm not privy to it.
Sorry.
Yes, during Mradi, Governor, and because you have teams down there,
yeah.
If somebody stands up and says all the 40,000 victims are going to get 10,000 shillings, can you confirm to us if any of those people in those camps have received that money?
According to the county,
that would come to 400 million.
Yes,
I'd have to look at that. According to the county government, from what I know, and the CFO is here, that has not been done by the county government. So
no, I'm asking from the national government.
Yeah.
You have your teams in the camps there. How many of the affected people receive that money?
You can ask before the end of the meeting.
As you sit here, you can just say yes or no.
No, I don't want to give a wrong answer. Let me just ask the county admin.
Okay, and the Mradi one?
That's what I'm saying. I want to ask the sub-county admin to tell us if there was a proclamation by a member of the national government, a senior officer, that they will receive some amounts of money, they should be able to do it. So I want to find out if they actually received that money. I know some of these victims.
And that is the reason we started by insisting that we need to implement the law as it is, to avoid the roadside proclamations. And so we hope that your disaster and emergency management response will be bound and guided by the law. Now, honorable members, I think we've done justice to this matter.
There's just one question the senator asked that I think would be good for you to have a response.
In a minute.
And to allay the issue of the qualifications of the staff in the sector. Because I had seen things before in social media that are not true. That the head of disaster has a degree in theology.
What degree does Bramwell have?
So Bramwell, though many disasters have.
No, let's start with Bramwell. Bramwell, what's your background? What's your qualification?
Chair, I have a degree in strategic management, a master's in strategic management, but I have a BA in English and literature.
in
But
English
I've
and
done
literature. I guess you need some English to
But
manage
I've
disasters.
also done a lot of short courses on disaster. But just to maybe...
And the other two directors?
So the other two directors, the director in charge of fire and rescue services has a BSc in disaster management and a diploma, and is currently doing a master's in crisis management at what's it called, the defense college. That's the director. His deputy here.
Chair, perhaps because I'm the one who put up that post, allow me to guide
And
this
I was going to answer.
I can see Bramwell is trying to be clever. Bramwell, is there an officer called Anastasia Sumbua in your department?
Yes,
What is her position?
She's a principal fire officer.
What is her qualification?
She's in theology.
Correct.
And there's
Let's
nothing wrong
move
with
to the
that,
next
Senator,
one. Just a minute.
Because disaster management.
Just a minute.
Yes, sir.
Just a minute.
Yes.
Is there somebody called Juliana Nziuki?
Correct.
What is her position?
I think she's also a principal, if I'm not wrong. But
Yes. What is her qualification?
She has, I was just looking at it a minute ago.
So that it is not, Governor,
Yeah.
seeing that we just perpetuate fake news on the media,
Yeah.
and it is intended to help you reallocate these resources in a manner that will be most efficient for the people of Nairobi. Juliana Nzuki has a degree in theology as well.
Can you confirm that, Bramwell?
I'll go through the list.
Bramwell, can you confirm that?
I can confirm that, Chair.
Good.
Okay,
Let's go to Brian Kariuki, the Chief Fire Officer.
He's not chief fire officer.
What is
There is no
his-
gentleman called Brian Kariuki.
He is, but he's not the chief fire officer.
What is his position?
He's probably just part of the fire team.
What is his qualification?
I would have to check.
He is a library, is a degree in library studies. You will
Correct.
check with me.
Yes.
Lastly, Chair, Disaster Management Officer, Belinda Anyango. Is she there?
Yes, she is.
What is her position?
I wouldn't, but I would agree with whatever she...
No,
qualification she has.
Bramwell, you are not going to...
Chair, I need to clarify
Bramwell,
something.
order.
Yes.
We will put you on oath
Yes.
if you proceed that way. Senator Sifuna?
Yes, Bramwell, Belinda has a degree in tours and travel.
Okay.
Yes, there is a mismatch of skills in your department. And when we bring them up, it's not that because we have anything against you or against these officers. They could be more useful in other departments. That's the point that we are making. So you don't need to become defensive.
Chair, allow me to say
We have
this.
that matter rests
allow me
there
to say this,
because
Chair, with all due respect.
Order, Bramwell.
With all
That-
due respect, Chair. We just want me to clarify.
Governor, you must guide your officers that
I see
anything
where
they say is through you, and if they insist on speaking, we must put them on oath. So I have ruled as a chair that the facts have been presented. You have theologians and librarians in the fire department. That's a fact. Whatever explanations you give, maybe they need to rearrange the books after the fire, or they need to pray for the people who have died. That can be dealt with later. Members, let us go back to the audit report. Let us go back to the audit report. The county executive walked in here at 12:10. It is 2:23. It is 2 hours later. We have dealt with a very important live matter, but it's only one out of 50, out of 55 issues. So allow me, members,
Chair,
for us to be able to make
question
progress,
on
to go back
distress.
to the audit issues.
Because Senator Sifuna had asked about payments to victims. I had asked the governor to know how many Nairobians or the people that have died in Nairobi because of these floods, how many are in distress, so that it ties up with what Senator Sifuna was asking about
Governor,
the payment of 10,000.
Governor, that just state the number. Don't even explain. How many have died? Do you have the number? And how many are in distress? Just the number, without a story.
The number, Chair. Those who've died from flood-related issues, the number I have is 20
20?
in Nairobi.
And those in distress?
60,000 families were affected.
60,000 families.
Yeah.
Families means
60,000
households.
individuals.
Households, not
Individuals.
not head count.
Individuals.
60,000 individuals.
So that's around 13,000 or so households, depending on, some households are small, others are.
Okay, I think that suffices. Senator Onyonka, could you allow us to proceed to...
Yes, proceed, sir. Proceed.
Now, let's now go back to the accounting issues. And I think it is fair to the people of Nairobi to hear what the governor is doing to ease their suffering, but also for the governor to take note that the law needs to be followed, and there's a reason for that. In the financial year 2021-2022, the budget of Nairobi City County Executive was Nairobi City County Executive, in the statement of receipts and payments, had total receipts of 28 billion Kenya shillings, comprising, 29 billion. Am I reading the right ones? 28 billion, 28.2 billion.
Where are you?
I'm looking at the statement of receipts and payments for the year ended 30th of June 2022. It's in the financial statements. I want us to dispense with that issue of NMS, as we had discussed earlier, so that the governor is aware of our resolution. It's in the statement of receipts and payments. It's usually the first, just after the Auditor General's signature. Nairobi City County Executive had total receipts of 28.2 billion, comprising of 19 billion as exchequer releases, 8.9 billion as on-source revenue, and 1,442,000 as returned CRF issues. Out of the total receipts of 28.2 billion, Nairobi City County Executive transferred 13 billion to other government units. Out of the 13 billion transferred to other government units, 11.8 billion was transferred to the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. 11,847,311,056. Now, 11 billion out of 28 billion is something in the range of what? Is that 40%? That's almost 40% of what Nairobi received went to the Nairobi Metropolitan Service. The 11 billion that went to the Nairobi Metropolitan Service, we do not have an audit report on that 11 billion. And we take note that Article 187 of the Constitution says that even in the case where a function is transferred, responsibility for that function remains, constitutional responsibility for the performance of the function or exercise of the power shall remain with the government to which it is assigned by the 4th schedule. We have asked the Auditor General to tell us whether they have audited the 11 billion. They have said it has been audited under the financial statements of the presidency. We have directed the Auditor General to lay the financial statements or the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of the presidency before the Senate, so that the Senate can interrogate the utilization of the 11 billion. The accounting officer of the presidency will need to appear before this committee, but the chief executive officer of Nairobi City County Executive, in this case the governor, to whom constitutional responsibility for performance of those functions rests, will also need to accompany the accounting officer of the presidency. So I needed to point that out because out of the 29 billion, there is 11 billion that we do not have visibility over. So, Auditor General, just go on record that you will table the report of the Auditor General.
Chair, we have confirmed that we'll be able to table the report of the Auditor General on the audit of the presidency for the period 2021-2022 before Senate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
With that in mind, let's now proceed and look at the amount of money that remained within the control of Nairobi City County.
Yeah, can I say something on that?
Can he confirm the 11B is also part of that, for the record?
Auditor General?
Chair, once we table the report, it's expected that the 11 billion be part of that information.
Because it must be seen as a receipt.
Yes.
It must be reflected as a receipt.
Yes, Chair.
That will be the starting point.
Yes, Chair.
Did 11 billion come from Nairobi City County?
Yes. Thank you,
And
Chair.
if there's a problem there, then we'll know that the whole NMS was a booby trap.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair, just a quick one, a follow-up through the OAG and through you. Will it also, that report include the pending bill that or liabilities that were left under the de facto metropolitan services? Because as we are pointing right, the 13 billion under 2021, 2022, 2020, 2021 on 11 billion, will that report include the pending bill or bills that were incurred by Nairobi Metropolitan Services? Because I saw somewhere it's way beyond than 14 billion that on those transferred function. I thank you, Chair.
Auditor General, are you aware of the contents of those financial statements and the report?
Thank you, Chair. We can check and confirm. However, in preparation of financial statements, it's a requirement that the pending bills are disclosed. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Governor, you wanted to say something on that?
Yes, Chair. Chair, the people of Nairobi will be very happy with what you're doing. Very happy. Because it's not just, there's 11 billion. If you see the next column, the previous year, there's 10 billion from Nairobi to that entity. And the following year, there's also some money. The total amount that Nairobi County government sent to NMS was 27 billion. And then after that, a pending bill of 16 billion. So, Nairobians need to be told how 43 billion was spent in 2 years. And that is while some projects were still being done by the national government. Nairobi County still maintained some element of payroll because of the staff who had not been seconded there. But 43 billion, you know, like the equivalent of Thika Highway, you know, which was 40 billion, must be accounted for. I'm very happy that the position was taken at IBEC, the first IBEC we attended, and later the Auditor General concurred, because there was an attempt to push these pending bills to Nairobi County government. And he said these outstanding liabilities incurred by entity that at the national level should not and cannot be pushed to the county government, despite the constitutional responsibility remaining with us. When you invoke Article 187 to help a county, you can't leave it worse off than you found it. You should not. So the responsibility for the liabilities, I think, are placed in the right place. But that accountability, Chair, I just want to thank you for going in that direction.
Chair, if I remember correctly, and Governor, you were there, we did have a meeting with the Comptroller of State House. It was before this very committee. And there was a commitment from national government that those pending bills that were owed or due from NMS would not be put on our books. Perhaps what you need to update us on is how far has that conversation gone now? And in my most recent conversation with you on this particular issue, you indicated that in fact the handover process, there were still some outstanding issues in terms of handover of handing back of the functions and all the documentation back to the Nairobi County government. Has that process now been concluded?
Before you respond, let's get the intervention of Senator Nyonka.
Thank you, Chair. Governor, I happen to be very lucky that I sit in 3 different committees that have been dealing with this matter. I really hope today when you pronounce yourself that I would like to have the people who are responsible for NMS to just come and tell us what actually happened with NMS. Because this issue is not as simple as every time we are talking about for the last 2 years. All right. In fact, the other issue I wanted to raise, Chair, again, linked with NMS, is, Governor, I don't know whether I'm right on this one. Even the platform that you're using to collect revenue in Nairobi County, you don't even have the passwords. You don't even know where the servers are.
That is not true.
Okay, can you clarify on that? Because in the other committee, that's the impression we got.
No, that would be.
Let's proceed in this manner, because I was giving directions on how to deal with the 11 billion. Now the governor has opened debate on it. I really wouldn't want us to debate it for long. So just deal with very briefly. I think Kato, you appeared alongside Kato when we were giving directions that they give you access to the servers. I think that's what Senator Onyonka is referring to. And we even directed that some officer be found, and that officer should provide access. So I hope that was complied with. And I also hope that the proclamation that the pending bills would remain the national government books was followed through. Just confirm that.
The pending bills, Chair, was a resolution of the IBEC. First, it was a position of the Auditor General that we agreed with happily, and the pronouncement was made at IBEC. We don't intend to, pay those outstanding liabilities that had been incurred at that time. And I'll give you an example. There was a bill of more than $1 billion owed to NHIF for insurance. And they had tried to push that down the throat of the county. And I told them, listen, why are we being asked to pay for this $1 billion? Yet the staff at NMS were both county and national. There were staff from the national government sent to NMS. There were staff from the county government sent to NMS. Why is the bill a Nairobi county bill? And I told that PS Gadesha that, you people cannot try to untwist the county government or to bully the county government into paying for what you incurred. So Chair, the process of handover from an MS senator, the only things that are pending are now the files that are pending payment, because until they pay and conclude, they can't hand those to us, and we ask them to fast track so that we can finish these projects. Because now going forward, if for instance I'll give you an example of Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital. One of the buildings has a pending payment owed. We want them to pay so that we continue and conclude that construction. And there are many other examples. The only two others really was City Park, that had gone under KFS during NMS time, the management of City Park. That one has been decreed. Of course, that comes back to us as a county government.
Just clarify something for me. Isn't there a provision in your budget for completion of the works at Mama Lucy?
Yes, but you see, we can't until they hand over the Novate contract.
Why are you budgeting for it, and you know for a fact that the process of handover has not been completed?
No, those are other projects. It's not one project at Mama Lucy.
So the one that is told that was begun by NMS, and there's another one at Mbagathi as well?
No, there are a number of different projects.
Yes, so Mbagathi, why budget for them when we know it might not happen in this financial year?
No, those are not the stalled ones by NMS. Those are our own, the other projects.
We're beginning new projects.
The projects that the county had started before, that NMS, for instance, didn't continue with.
So at Mama Lucy, what is the budget for? It's not the building that was told that was begun by...
We have to look at it, because there's also a mother and child center. There's quite a bit going on in Mama Lucy. So you can tell me the exact budget line. I can tell you what it is.
Could we avoid getting into the specifics at this time? So we deal with the specifics when the Auditor General tables that report, so that we can now move on to something else, because that takes care of the 11 billion part of your revenue. Auditor General, this was an adverse opinion. When you come to the basis of the adverse opinion, your first finding is on compensation of employees. Already, Auditor General, you have given us an update, and so I will refer to the finding of the Auditor General as is in the report, just to be efficient and to save time. I will also refer to the response by the county government as per the management response tabled by the governor. We have reviewed it, and the Auditor General has told us that out of the amount that was queried, there was a variance of 313 million, where the breakdown was not provided. Now, the only comfort we take is that the expenditure is going down. At least it's not going up. But the Auditor General says that 1.1 billion of that 1.4 billion has been explained, and I can see that there is a table there. And the auditor tells us that the balance of 313 million has not been justified. Governor, could you explain that variance of 313 million?
Chair, do I read the entire management response or just point to?
Yeah, because I'm sure you're familiar with this report. We are also familiar with it. The Auditor General has given us a very detailed brief. The only thing that is pending there is accountability for 313 million. 1.1 billion, the Auditor General feels fairly satisfied.
Governor, there is a response at page 7 of your reply. That's what we would want.
Yeah, let's just go to that statement.
My document is a bit different, but let me just start. The compensation of employees of 6.4 reported in the financial statements.
Governor, you know sometimes even when you are moving, even in the committee of the whole, sometimes you say, I beg to move that clause 2 be amended as in the order paper.
Yes.
So that's for efficiency. So we have taken note of your written response, which is about 3 pages. The only part we have a question is on the 313 million.
Thank you, Chair. So the response is as in my response. The 313 million, Chairman, is attributable to off-payroll items. The off-payroll, according to the report, such as casuals, retiree terminal benefits, service gratuities, payments paid during the 2 financial years. And we've attached some documents: new employee hiring, staff exits, deed of transfer, and gazette notice on the deed of functions. I will have my CFO give you the details of
what the Auditor General is looking for, and what we are looking for, is a breakdown of those 313. Even if they are off-payroll items, they need to be broken down. Your first table as a total in Kenya shillings, and then your second table as a total count. We want total cash, not total count of movements.
Thank you so much, Chair, for the question. Chair, this particular question was addressing a bigger variance of 1.14B, which we've explained the cause of the variance. For the 313, as stated by His Excellency the Governor, these are items that usually do not appear in our IPPD byproduct, and they refer to casuals, retirees, and also those who are on contract, and we usually pay gratuities too. But the breakdown was not provided to the auditors, though that can be provided.
Well, if it was not provided, does it mean you didn't have the records?
The records are there, Chair.
Yeah, because if you list here, there were 43 deaths. If there are 43 deaths, there should be names and a figure and the benefits that were paid to them. If there were 3 retirements at 50, it's persons who retire. So that breakdown ought to be provided. Governor, unless you guys are trying to conceal something.
Perhaps Chair also clarify, because there's 5 annexures, Governor.
Yes.
Do those annexures speak to the question? Would the Chair find that information in those annexures, the amounts?
No. Chair, those annexures, actually, because you want a list of casuals,
yes.
You want the retiree terminal benefits, service gratuity payments in those 2 financial years, that is 2020, 21 and 21-22.
Yeah, so you may have misunderstood the query. So if you can provide this.
Yeah, so that's what we can provide, Chair. I think that would answer the 313.
Auditor General, is this part of what was coming to you at the last minute? Is this part of it, or it was payment vouchers?
Chair, there are payment vouchers for casuals, but for us to be able to extract this information, we need to clearly be given the listings of the names, as we said, and then their actual earnings, so that we can tally that figure and see whether it is totaling to 300.
So it has not been provided yet, because you mentioned to us that there were some payment vouchers that were presented at the last minute.
No, Chair.
This is not part of it.
Yes, Chair.
And since I know there are some queries where you'll be asking for time to verify the payment vouchers, should we then direct the governor to provide this breakdown within 7 days so that you do the verification as you sort out the other payment vouchers?
That would be right, Chair.
Governor, can this breakdown be provided?
Let me have the Chief Officer PSM to answer him, not me.
No, I don't want a story. I just want to be told that this will be provided to the Auditor General.
She has said she will provide.
Within how many days do you need? How many days do you need? Within 7 days, so that Auditor General.
Chair, she has to be on record. Eh?
Yes. I can answer 7 days.
No. The chief officer, because she's the one to provide.
7 days.
Oh.
Excuse me, Chair. Madam, could I please ask you a question? When you see such question being asked, why is it that you're unable to provide the basic documentation analysis to the governor?
We are doing that because
that's not what I asked you.
Yes.
Why is it that you did not provide that information before you came here?
I was organizing with my team, and we've been trying to retrieve it. And even as we sit here, I'm in touch with them. And that is why when we give 7 days, we are sure by that time we'll be able to provide.
So the reason why you are not getting the documents was?
Some of them were still missing, but they are retrieving them.
Why are you not able even to say that in your report when governor is answering the questions?
I'm sorry, sir.
You understand the problem we are having?
I do.
This is a matter that we should never interrogate here. Because you have the documents, you would have given them to him. Yeah. Or did you think we'll not be able to see?
No.
Ours is what in wajuaji. Tunaonanga kila kitu.
I understand.
In fact, Governor, you see, it is pointless for your team to go and attach documents that have no relevance at all to the question. So if effort is being spent in answering the wrong question, there's a problem in those departments, Governor. So that somebody comes up with 5 annexures of big volumes of documents that do not say anything to the query. So we're asking ourselves, was the question misunderstood? Or somebody is digging for the wrong documents for all this time and then says in 7 days they can get the correct documents? I'm a bit worried for you there.
I'm also worried. And people will answer now for themselves. Correct. Yeah. I know, of course, in as much as the chief officer, just like me, was not in the county at that time, you have staff who are there, who need to be able to give what is asked for by the Auditor General. Even if it's 2020, 2021, that should be. I hear what Senator Onyonka is saying.
Okay, I think let's proceed. That was Madam Opiata. Senator Sifuna is speculating that you have a degree in theology, but you don't look like you have a degree in theology. I don't think you'd pray for me. But just for the record, for it to go on record, because for Hansard purposes, they will need to capture the name and the officer who spoke. Just say your name and the function.
My name is Janet Opiata, Chief Officer Public Service. I have a degree, a Bachelor of Arts, social work. And then I am an HR practitioner.
Yeah, a member of the Institute of HR Managers?
Yes.
Okay, I think that's sufficient.
Chair, a quick observation, under the Public Audit Act, Governor, and I agree with you that some officers might take their own responsibility. It is the responsibility to provide those documents when are needed by the auditor. Like this explanation that 7 days are being added. So the question is, under Section 1865 of the Public Audit Act, it contravenes the law of public auditing when a document is needed but it is not found. It only takes the Senate intervention then that document is found. So, Governor, this management of auditing process, internal auditing and what have you, I know that is a work of CCM Finance and the department. What are you doing, Governor, through your office, Goodwill? Have you been able to have management meeting with the public, with the Office of the Auditor General, so that we don't have to discuss about provision of documentation, which should be a direct issue, Chair? So I think the issue here is just non-provision of documentation.
Yeah, Chair, of course, the management meetings are held. The entire audit process, and the Auditor General can confirm that they have had sessions, with the team. But sometimes it reaches where an issue that is not resolved still will not be resolved. If these documents from 2020 are not there, what do we do? And you see, the Auditor General should help us. But yes, this issue we've marked as not yet resolved or partially resolved. How then?
Order, Governor, we have not reached there. You have said in 7 days you'll provide the breakdown for the 300 and something, because you have said there have been deaths and exits, etc. Unless you are saying that in the 7 days you are returning hot air, but we expect that in those 7 days you'll close that gap. Let's leave it at that, so that we take the decision upon the expiry of those 7 days.
Let's take the decision then. I'm sure there's some things we might not get, but at least death, who died. Retirement at 50, that information must be there. Unpaid leave, most of this, I'll give the Chief Officer benefit of doubt. When she says she can get this information,
yes,
she should be able to get it.
As a member of the institute, she's bound by certain professional codes of conduct. Let's expect that she will do the right thing. Let's then proceed to the next issue. This one, when we reviewed it, it raised a lot of queries, so I will ask the Auditor General to read it. I think it's about amounts owed to KPLC and Nairobi Water. Please read your finding, Auditor General.
Thank you, Chair. Issue number 2, unsupported expenditure on use of goods and services. The statement of receipts and payments, as disclosed in Note 7 to the financial statements, reflects use of goods and services total expenditure amount of Kenya shillings 7,642,844,133. However, examination of records revealed the following anomalies. 2.1, Utility, Supplies and Services. Review of records in support of utility, supplies and services expenditure of Kenya shillings 156,511,724 revealed that payment vouchers amounting to Kenya shillings 100,862,069 paid to Kenya Power and Lightning Company Limited were not supported with invoices and bills from the company. Further, included in Annex 2 to the financial statements are pending accounts payable balance of Kenya shillings 26,270,995,418. The pending payable includes supply of services balance of Kenya shillings 22,929,252,921 as at 30th June 2022, which in turn includes a balance of Kenya shillings 304,812,436 and Kenya shillings 120,674,506 as at 30th June 2021 and 30th June 2022, respectively, owing to KPLC. However, the KPLC, through letter referenced KPI/10B.2A FINL/10/2 dated 9th March 2022, indicates that the county owes the company an amount totaling to Kenya shillings 1,460,542,895. The discrepancy in the two sets of records was not explained. In addition, it was established that the county committed to pay the KPLC an amount of Kenya shillings 50 million every month with effect from January 2022. However, as at 30th June 2022, only an amount of Kenya shillings 156,511,724 had been paid instead of the total of Kenya shillings 300 million as committed in the letter. Similarly, review of the pending bills for the year under review revealed that County owed Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company an amount of Kenya shillings 249,199,58 for bills dating back to 2016-2017 financial year. Bills for the year 2018, 2019, 2019, 2020, 2020, 2021, and 2021, 2022 have neither been paid nor included in the pending accounts payable. In addition, the management did not provide documents in support of payments, even remitted to Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company. In the circumstances, the completeness and accuracy of the expenditure could not be confirmed. Thank you, Chair.
Governor, you may read your response.
Sorry. Chair, the response that I will give is as per the document we submitted, but I'd like this Sisi Finance to expound on it.
Well, let him read it. And this is critical. That's why I asked the Auditor General to read his finding.
Okay.
I'd like your response to be read.
Chairman, the total amount of 1,460,542,895 relates to the outstanding amount of pending bills demanded by Kenya Power. In the above reference letter with that reference number, dated 9th of March 2022. However, the above mentioned outstanding pending bill demanded by KPLC is being verified jointly by KPLC and Nairobi County to establish the status of all electricity accounts for the Nairobi City County held by Kenya Power and Lighting. The report will address the status of the outstanding KPLC pending bills. The verification will also establish the exact amount owed to KPLC for subsequent payment. Nairobi County is planning to have a debt swap due to the pending bill owed to Kenya Power for charges in Wayleaf. While Nairobi County committed to remit 50 million every month towards settlement of the outstanding power bills, as at the time of the agreement, this was, however, not tenable due to cash flow challenges. The county remitted a total of 156 million to KPLC and not 300 million, thereby realizing 52% towards the settlement of the outstanding debt. The cash flow constraints was due to unrealized on-source revenue. And if the chair will allow, I could expound a bit more on this.
You have not addressed the Nairobi water query? That's the end of your written response? There was the other paragraph for Nairobi City Water and Sewage Company.
It appears that section was not addressed, Chair.
It's very material, 249 million. So, before you expound, do you know, you have said is being verified jointly by KPLC and NCCG. When did that start? What is the scope of that exercise? Who is involved? And when shall it be concluded? We need very specific.
Chair, as we bring the dates, just get the specific dates.
Yeah, and Senator Sifuna wants to write on that.
Governor, one of the most concerning observations before you begin to expound is that there are no annexures to point to any of the things that the CEC of Finance is speaking about. So I don't know if you just want to speak off cuff or...
There are annexures.
Where are the annexures?
Volume Appendix 2.1.
But they are not referred to in your response. Because when we'll be writing our report, we'll probably not be able to replay the audio.
They are there in the second paragraph.
So 2.1, Governor, just go with
which appendix?
Chair, if you look at the second paragraph of in page 8, it says further included in Annex 2. Must be volume 1.
Where have you referred to Appendix 2? In your management response?
The last paragraph in page 8.
On page 8?
Or that is...
That's a different matter.
No, it's the same
You are
matter.
on page 9.
But it's the auditor's statement.
That's the auditor's statement, Governor.
So they should have indicated that.
So
But
can we
Annex
go with you
here-
to Annex 2?
Sorry?
We can go together to Annex 2 so that when you are expounding, we know what you're referring to.
So if you look at Annex 2...
Which one is Annex 2? Volume? Volume 1, Volume 2?
Volume 1.
Volume 1?
Yes.
Okay. Just give us a second. Yes.
Are you there?
Yes, we are there.
So, it's a series of documents that shows correspondence between my county secretary, the PS Treasury, starting in December of 2022, a schedule of verified bills to Kenya Power. If you go further, Chair, let me just get the title. The minutes of a meeting held by between Nairobi City County Government and Kenya Power, 14th November. That is a joint committee that we created to go look at this account. Because for a long time, you know, these utility companies will just give you a bill without verification. And they say you owe us $1 billion, you owe us 500 million. And so, if you look at that meeting between us and Kenya Power, it talks about reconciliation of the bills for Nairobi, verification of meters. Some meters were found, you know, reading other county governments. I think those Kiambu, those Turkana, Kisii county government, but bills being charged to Nairobi. Yeah. Now this process, Chair, started.
Chair.
Governor.
Sorry for the intervention. I just wanted to ask auditors whether they have managed to look at this, because in your brief you said you didn't see these attachments. Thank you.
Auditor General, these are appendices. They were not referred to in the written response. So if we didn't prod, perhaps we would not have gotten here.
Chair, we looked at their files, and in the brief we have said correspondences between the county and KPLC. And we have said management has explained the steps taken to address. So we've seen these correspondences too.
Okay. Have you seen, Governor, the minutes you are referring to of the meeting of 14th November? Those minutes are not signed. So how do we know that Kenya Power have also taken ownership of these discussions? Am I missing a page?
14th November.
Yes. You've referred to those minutes.
20
are not signed. Yes.
As Chair, Governor, as you're looking at that, I wanted to, through the Chair, who is your internal auditor? Do you have an internal auditor?
Of course, yes. We do.
Yes, the reason why I'm asking that is that this report with these annexures, it is actually the internal audit office that should have, with the CEC finance, that should have put all this information, including the issues that you've raised yourself, as to why this bill was not correct or why it had challenges. The feeling I have is that your team basically has given you raw food which has not been cooked either way.
No, Chair. I don't agree. I'm the one who asked for this process to start.
Yes, so
I doubted those bills.
So the point is, what the Auditor General has told us is that yes, you've placed these documents with us here, but Your Excellency Governor, they are saying this doesn't mean anything whatsoever onto the problem you are trying to solve. And that is to show us, yes, the money has been paid, and yes, you've been trying to sort out the issue of Nairobi, but we haven't gone into knowing, one, whether the money was actually paid. Two, you have solved a wonderful problem for us because you have actually disclosed these accounts. You discovered that there are other places where the money was going. You get with me? Which for me obviously means somebody should do a reversal of that money, or somebody should be held accountable. And number three, Governor, the truth is, when we interrogated this matter in the morning, we were unable to decide whether you've actually solved the problem or have you created a bigger one. So I think you get where I'm coming from.
Order, Governor. Yeah, so take note of Senator Onyonka's comment. Senator Sifuna?
Yeah, Governor, these documents are very worrying because if you go to the minutes, you clarify why the minutes are not signed. But you can see there is, I think the pages are not numbered. So it is the last page there on resolution. On resolution, if we can go together. This essentially would represent the way forward from that meeting. That the county was to prepare an agreement letter to KPLC on the mode of payment of the pending bills and the monthly consumption. So you address whether that was done. KPLC to share accounts which were opened during NMS dispensation period. The most interesting thing, Governor, you will note that this meeting is happening on 14th of November when you have essentially a way forward. But then you are hit by a demand 3 months later in February of 2023 of 1.7 billion shillings. And if you see the letter that your acting county secretary and head of county public service then writes back to KPLC, they don't even dispute the amounts that Kenya Power is claiming. They make no reference to the discussions of November. They just give a summary of what money has been paid. Governor.
Yes, Chair, can I answer all of them now? Or?
Yes, yeah, you may respond.
Thank you. Chair, first of all, for Senator Onyonka, what the Auditor General is saying is not that these documents are not, they want the process to be concluded. Yeah, there's a joint verification process that was commenced. It has at many times stopped. And we've kept writing to Kenya Power, please bring your officers back, we do the joint verification, because their bill is going down based on that verification. We found around, is it 300 accounts or so? 3,650 accounts that don't belong to us, that Nairobi has been charged and has been paying for in the past. Some you find it's a butchery somewhere. You find one is, I promise you, yeah? Schools. And you know, if you're not careful, you'll just end up using taxpayers' money for the wrong thing. And so once they realize that, and the engineers and our engineers are doing it together, I think Engineer Tiropia is outside. The officers from Kenya Power would then back off because they're being exposed. But they've been charging Nairobi County. Nairobi County, I think, has been sitting duck for so long that whatever bill you throw at the county will pay. And that is what I refused. Maybe Charles can give details of that and where we are in that process between ourselves and Kenya Power.
Proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. When His Excellency the Governor asked for a review of this debt that Kenya Power was claiming, at the time, Kenya Power gave us a list of electricity account numbers and meters that were numbering 11,935. And so we insisted that we want to do a verification exercise. It's not in the file. We can provide.
But the lists are available.
Yes, it is available.
The list. Okay.
Yes. So out of the 11,935, we set up a joint team led by the Department of Mobility at the county and Kenya Power. We had a contact person. The head in Nairobi County was the CEC in charge of mobility. By then it was Patrick Mbogo. And the side of Kenya Power was led by Irene Osiemo. They brought the engineers and we took our engineers and we began the verification exercise. It took months because we had to look at every meter physically. Of course, you know, a lot of these meters are street light meters. Chairman, we found 7,285 meters. We did not find 3,650 of these meters. And so we said we have to go to phase 2, where we decide that these meters that have not been found, what is the payment attached to it? Meaning, has money been paid into these meters? But Kenya Power insisted that no, these meters must exist. So we continue the verification exercise. Chair, at some point, because now they had sort of withdrawn their officers, they said that they had found 2,113 meters. And we told them, that is what you say. We want to see, because we were supposed to do it together. How did you proceed to then find on your own? These 2,113 meters had some money attached to it. So far, from that list of theirs, we have not traced over 3,000 meters. And the money that has, the debt allegedly owed attached to those 3,000 meters is 715 million as at February 2024.
Though, Sisi, if I look at the letter by Kenya Power, I think it's a letter dated 23rd of February 2023. They are talking of settlement of debt for county health facilities. Then they've attached a table there, summary of the electricity debt. This is from Kenya Power. And on street lights, they have indicated they are 7,300, which ties with what you have said.
Chair, you are absolutely right.
So where's the contention?
So what we are saying is, as you are writing these letters, it is okay, we will get and respond, but let the verification continue. Because our position has always been, we will know the final exposure and debt once we finish the verification. And without the verification, these are just your claims based on your records.
Didn't you say your verification established 7,285 meters?
7,285 were found to be existent.
So you have no problem with that?
We have no problem with
that.
The
letter by Kenya Power talks of 7,372, a very small difference.
Yes.
So are you going to hold this exercise over the variance of 100 meters?
Those are street lights only.
No.
You're not understanding.
Those are street lights only.
Yes.
That's only street lights.
Yes.
You see, there are two things. Number one, you say there's these 11,000 accounts. I mean, the meters. We said, okay, let's go show us the meters. We find 3,000 are not there. So it's 7,000 meters, not just street lights. Installations, there's a meter at the hospitals, etc. On top of the meters, there are also accounts that we're saying, no, this account does not belong to Nairobi County government. So that is the ongoing process. But we're saying, even as that is ongoing, because we're still using electricity every month, we keep paying a certain amount. Now, what we would appreciate as a resolution is that Kenya Power and the county be directed to conclude. Because what was happening was that our engineers and their teams were jointly signing off whatever they find. Now, their bill went down from From 1.7 billion to 900 million. Before we even concluded that what they were asking us to pay 1.7 went down to 900 before we concluded, and I know it can go down further. And thus they withdrew their teams. Because when you send out people to collect debt, and then they come back saying that actually what you send us to collect is actually much less, it exposes many things. So direction by Senate.
Just on that, there's a letter by the PS Treasury, Dr. Kipto, dated 8th of January 2024.
Yes.
On what basis did Dr. Kipto convey that bill of 2.3 billion?
This letter by Dr. Kipto was sent to all counties. It was after one of these national government meetings, and Kenya Power says we are owed. So they said, give us a list. And they sent this, because I called him and asked him, what is this you're sending to us? And we're having a joint verification process. And he explained, no, after following that meeting, we had to just send a demand to all the counties and actually all entities, including national government entities, NHIF, ministries, etc. So it was more or less a generic exercise, and they used. He didn't tell me where they came up with that 2.6.
Okay, but
if you look at my response, Chair.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
What are you holding in your books and accounts payable? Because you need to make a provision for this. In your books, even pending the completion of the verification, what is the amount owed to KPLC?
Chair,
in your books?
Chair, as you see, the verification is going on.
No. But for reporting purposes, accounts payable you must disclose. You must
456 million.
456 and 56 million.
Yes.
And on the other side, they're demanding 2.3.
Their demand keeps changing. There's 2.3 here. There was 1.7.
Now, so, KPLC is a listed company with a credit control department and with internal systems and procedures for debt collection.
Yes.
I don't think it is for the Senate to do debt collection for KPLC. There is a contractual relationship between KPLC and Nairobi City County Government. Our concern really should be whether this delayed settlement invites any penalties on the part of Nairobi City County.
It shouldn't, because they're the ones delaying.
Chair, this blame game is part of a problem when you don't have both entities in the room at the same time. It reminds me of the discussion at the Health Committee about who walked out of the negotiations in March between government and the doctors. When you listen to the doctors, they say the government walked out. When you listen to the CS, he says he didn't walk out. So what we can do, Chair, to help the county government is to seek clarification from Kenya Power themselves on what happened to that process of verification. Yeah. And then, if it is possible, Chair, you give a time period within which that process must be concluded. That way you have helped the people of Nairobi.
And how both people must sign off.
Secondly, Governor, when you talk about the debts owed to us as Nairobians on way leaves, do you have a figure? Before you even start talking about debt swaps, how much does Kenya Power owe Nairobi?
I'll have the CC answer that. In terms of the way leaves, they used to pay before. But if you look at my response, you see this letter that you read, Chair, from Treasury. There's what I have directed the CCM Finance. And I tell him, respond to the PS, appraising him of the reconciliation process, as well as now amounts owed to NCCG by Treasury, not by even Kenya Power. Because I said, okay, why don't you send us our equitable share if you want us to pay bills?
Governor, let's not get lost there, because
the amount of way leaves,
yes.
I think you can give an yes, Charles.
Chairman, we had at some point in the past sent, and we can look for this correspondence, sent a demand to KPLC for 2.1 billion shillings. And the issue they raised is it is not legal for the county to charge them for way leaves. And I think that conversation went all the way to the National Cabinet, where they argued that if Nairobi County charges them for way leaves, then all the counties will then demand money for way leaves. And so I think in the conversations we had with them about the debt, we were pointing out that we are not asking for way leaves for the billions that are going across the county, but on the infrastructure that you have put on our road reserves, the county road reserves, that is what you should pay. And possibly, as an outcome of this sitting chairman, would be to get the opinion of the National Land Commission whether KPLC should pay Nairobi County for way leaves. That would be
the law, Kerich, that any street installations or infrastructure, any, should be payable.
Anybody who has infrastructure on our roadsides pays. All the fiber companies, Safaricom, Zuku, they all pay for way leaves. Now Kenya Power, apart from not paying for that way leave, has now become a carrier of fiber. If you look at Kenya Power cables, you'll find orange cables. Now they are carrying fiber and charging those fiber companies for way leave, but then they are not willing to then have a conversation with us.
To us, the 2.1 billion that you talk about, is it a computation of only the infrastructure on county road reserves?
Yes, only on county road reserves, without counting now the fiber that they have now started carrying.
Senator Dulo?
Chair, I want clarification on the 50 million, whether you are still paying, because you had an agreement with them. Because I can see a comment, I don't know by who, you've indicated on the 13th March that 50M has been paid. So if you are still paying and you are actually having issues with the total amount you owe KPLC, does it make sense? Yeah? That is number one. Number two, can you give us a copy of the agreement for this particular committee? Then number three, Chair, I'm sure out of the meters you are talking about, you mentioned that there are some that don't belong to you. And now that you are paying, is it possible that you have been paying meters that are not yours? And how much is involved? How are you going to claim back what you have paid for other meters that doesn't belong to Nairobi County?
Senator Cherargei?
Chair, looking at the Kenya